A cold breeze stirred the underbrush along the deserted highway, scattering brittle leaves into the dim glow of the streetlights. Darkness had settled quickly across this lonely stretch of road winding through dense woodland. The occasional car sped past in a streak of light, drivers eager to leave the emptiness behind. None realized that just beyond the shoulder, hidden among the tangled growth, a heartbreaking scene unfolded. A small figure huddled against the base of an oak tree, arms wrapped around her knees. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8, dressed in a faded sweatshirt and jeans too thin for the chill. Her shoulders shook with quiet sobs, though she bit her lip to keep silent, afraid of what might hear her in the shadows. Not far away, a large shape moved cautiously through the brush. At first glance, it might have been mistaken for a coyote, lean with a rough coat and wary eyes. But the frayed nylon strap around its neck told a different story. This was no wild animal but a dog, one who had known both homes and hardship. Ribs pressed sharply against its sides, and a deep scrape along one hind leg left a trail of matted fur. It had been months since it had known regular meals or kindness. Most people who spotted it shooed it away, assuming it was dangerous. Others had been crueler, chasing it off with shouts or hurled rocks. It had learned to distrust humans. Yet the sound of muffled crying drew it closer. The dog paused at the edge of the clearing, ears twitching. The girl, Emma, though neither of them knew that yet, looked up with a gasp. For a second, fear flashed in her eyes. Then the dog lowered its head, not in threat but in something like uncertainty. Emma held her breath as the animal crept forward, step by cautious step. It stopped just out of reach, watching her. Moonlight caught the scars along its muzzle, the old injury on its leg. But its eyes weren't fierce, just tired. And maybe a little lonely. Slowly, Emma stretched out a hand. The dog hesitated, then nudged her fingers with its nose. The touch was tentative, almost questioning. When Emma didn't pull away, it licked her palm once, gently. Something unspoken passed between them in that moment. Two lost creatures, each with their own wounds, finding an unexpected ally in the dark. Emma wiped her face with her sleeve and shifted to make space beside her. The dog circled once, then settled at her side, its warmth a small comfort against the night's chill. They might have stayed like that for hours if not for the approaching rumble of an engine. Headlights swept across the trees and Emma tensed. The dog's ears pricked up, a low sound building in its throat. But when Emma scrambled to her feet, waving desperately, it didn't growl. It just watched, alert but still. The truck slowed, then stopped. The door opened, and a man stepped out, his expression shifting from confusion to concern as he took in the sight before him. "Hey there," he called, keeping his voice soft. "You okay?" Emma swallowed hard. I'm lost," she managed. The man, Jake, a mechanic from the next town over, nodded slowly. His gaze flicked to the dog, which had moved subtly between him and the girl. "I see that," he said. "And you've got a friend there, huh?" Emma nodded, her fingers brushing the dog's scruff. "He found me." Jake hesitated, then crouched to make himself smaller. "You both look like you could use some help. How about we get you somewhere warm?" The dog watched him warily but didn't protest when Emma took a step forward. It fell in beside her, close enough to touch as they approached the truck. The ride to town was quiet. Emma sat curled in the passenger seat, the dog a solid presence at her feet. Jake didn't press for answers, just turned up the heat and drove. By morning, the authorities had been called, questions asked, arrangements made. Emma had a temporary place to stay. The dog, now called Bear, had a vet visit and a proper meal for the first time in who knew how long. And though their paths had been uncertain before, one thing was clear: neither of them would be alone again. Weeks later, when Jake officially took Emma in as his foster daughter, Bear was part of the deal. No one argued. Some bonds, once formed, couldn't be broken. Now, on quiet evenings, you might see them: a man, a girl, and a scarred but loyal dog, walking along that same stretch of road, the past behind them, the future unwritten, but facing it together. The first snow came early that year, dusting the neglected highway in a thin layer of white. Emma pressed her nose against the frost-rimed window of Jake's small house, watching her breath fog the glass. Behind her, Bear lifted his head from where he lay sprawled before the wood stove, his tail thumping once against the floorboards when she turned to smile at him. "You remember that night, don't you, boy?" she whispered. The dog's ears twitched as if he understood every word. Jake looked up from his coffee at the kitchen table. "You two planning an adventure out there?" Emma shook her head, tracing patterns in the condensation. "Just thinking how different everything is now." The memory of that cold roadside still haunted her sometimes. The way the wind had howled through the trees, the terrifying loneliness before Bear appeared like a guardian spirit from the shadows. But now, 6 months later, her world had transformed. The county had granted Jake permanent guardianship just before Christmas, and for the first time in her 8 years, Emma had a room of her own, a bed that stayed in the same place, and someone who tucked her in at night. Bear stood and stretched, his healed leg barely showing a limp as he crossed to nudge her hand. The scar along his muzzle had faded to a thin white line, though Jake said it would always be there, a reminder of what they'd all survived. "Come on," Jake said, pushing back his chair. "Let's take this old warrior for his walk before the snow gets worse." Emma scrambled for her boots and coat, Bear dancing excitedly around her. The transformation in the dog still amazed Jake. That first night at the vet's, the doctor had warned him, an animal so traumatized might never fully trust humans again. But something about Emma had reached Bear in a way no one else could. Outside, the world had gone still under its blanket of snow. Bear bounded ahead, kicking up powdery flurries, then circled back to check on them. His breath made little clouds in the air. "You think he's happy?" Emma asked suddenly, watching Bear sniff at a snow-covered bush. Jake ruffled her hair. "I think he knows he's home." They walked their usual path along the tree line, the same route they took every evening since moving in together. At the bend in the road, the spot where Jake had first seen them, Bear stopped and sat, ears pricked forward. Emma knelt beside him. "What is it, boy?" Then they heard it, a faint high-pitched sound from the ditch. Bear was moving before either of them could react, his powerful legs carrying him through the snow. By the time Jake and Emma caught up, Bear had carefully nosed aside some frozen brush to reveal a shivering calico kitten, its fur matted with ice. Emma gasped. "She's all alone." The kitten hissed weakly, but Bear simply lay down in the snow, making himself small. When the kitten didn't run, he gently licked its frozen ears. Jake exchanged a look with Emma. "Looks like our family just got bigger." That night, as the rescued kitten, now named Frost, slept curled against Bear's side by the fire, Emma leaned against Jake's shoulder. "Do you think Bear knew? That we needed her too?" Jake smiled. "Maybe some things are just meant to be." Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering old tracks and marking new beginnings. Inside, the house glowed warm with light and laughter, a shelter against any storm. And at its heart, a girl, a man, and two once-lost creatures who had found their way home.